For our last project, we're going to use two things from the new Occasions mini catalog. One of them, I think it's my favorite new product, it's flower trim. These are vanilla fabric roses. They're all put together on a piece of lace at the back, but you can easily cut them apart and use them for individual projects. You get 2 yards, and you're going to see they're beautiful. Then we're also going to use this kit. It's called the Artisan Embellishment Kit, and it comes with lots of vintagey looking things. There's this beautiful lace, this beautiful wide lace. This is a die cut tag that it's wrapped around. There are some narrow laces and some primrose petals, seam binding ribbon. There are some interesting little buttons and little metal things and clear things to add to your projects. There are some tickets that say love, a couple of lace doilies, there's a heart shape, a circle. There's also some of these beautiful flowers. And today we're going to be using this wide lace. Just word of warning, these do not come in this box, but I had an extra one of these storage boxes, and so I put the label on it, and I've stored all of my kit items in here. So we need just one section of this beautiful lace. So I'm going to use my paper snips, my favorite scissors in the world. And we're just going to carefully cut between these two. Doesn't have to be perfect. So we have this little piece of lace that we're going to use, and we are going to use one of these flowers. So I'm just going to cut between these two roses like that. And if you have some extra edges you don't want seen, you can cut them off, but they aren't going to bother anybody. Now it's pretty just like that, but we want to add a pop of color to it. So what I have right here is something that's protected on the back. It's got plastic on the back because I just didn't want to get my paper wet. I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to spritz it all over my rose. And I use rubbing alcohol. You could use water, but rubbing alcohol of course will dry quicker. And I'm going to use my Calypso Coral Stampin' Write marker, and I'm going to use the brush end, and I'm going to use the marker to color all over there. You can color these in different ways. You can put them directly on a stamp pad. You can use Stampin' Up's Stampin' Spritzers and spritz color onto them. You can draw on them like this. You can color them by putting ink refill directly on it. And you can keep adding color until it's as dark as you like or as light as you like. You can add different colors to it if you want it to be a multicolored flower. Sometimes when I get done, if I don't think that it's blended quite enough, I'll spritz it with a little more alcohol just to let the colors run a little more. And so there's my rose. I'm going to let that dry off a little bit. Sometimes if I'm in a big hurry, I'll use Stampin' Up's heat tool. It's new. It has 2 speeds, one for embossing and one for actually drying. So the low speed is for drying things like this, or the high speed would be if you want to do embossing. So I'm just going to blow that on there for a second to get it dry so that my adhesives will stick to it. Okay, it's dry. And I'm going to put my card together. So I've got a Very Vanilla base, and I've got a slightly smaller piece of Very Vanilla cardstock. I'm going to layer them on top of each other. Before I layer it, I want to put my sentiment. I'm going to use Island Indigo ink. It comes from the same ink color batch as Calypso Coral. And this is one of the free stamp sets you can get during Celebration. It's called Vintage Verses, and I'm going to use There's Only One You. I got the wood mounted set for my Celebration set. So get that nice and inky. And stamp my verse just like that. Now I want this layer to stand away from the back, from the base a little bit, to give it some dimension. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to put one in each corner, but I'm also going to put one or two in the middle so that the middle won't sag. I like Stampin' Up! Stampin' Dimensionals because they don't waste any of that foam. They are in the hexagon shape. So just peel those off. Oops, make sure they're stuck. I'm going to center this on my card. About like that. Okay, now to finish my card, I'm going to move this because that alcohol is wet and I don't want it to get my card wet. Okay, to stick down my lace, I'm going to use some mini glue dots from Stampin' Up! They hold these three-dimensional heavier items better. So I'm just going to put a couple of glue dots on the lace, and a couple of spots. There. One more. I'm just going to set that in the middle of my card. My lace is stuck down. Okay, so now to stick down my rose, I'm going to use a couple of more glue dots. Just put it on there, and another one to make sure it stays down. We're just going to put this rose smack dab in the middle. And the finishing touch for this card is going to be one of Stampin' Up's basic pearls. I used basic rhinestones on that other card I showed you this evening. I just wanted to show you what the full packages look like when you get them. I'm going to go back over to my pearls here, and I'm going to use the bigger pearl. And I'm going to stick it right in the middle, like so. There is a super simple, very elegant, vintage card. There's only one you. Here's an extreme close-up to show the beauty of the flowers. And here's another card sample I made using purple on the flowers and some green leaves to make them pop. So there you have it, the cards we did at our virtual workshop. I'd be more than happy to have a workshop in your home or to have a workshop here in my home with you. Or anytime you want to stamp and learn some new techniques, just let me know. I'd be happy to do that with you. Thanks for joining us.